Hey, how's it going? All you lovely people at Shut Door or Door Shutter coming back to you with a brand new episode of the Direwolf20 1.20 mod pack. Today is episode 45, and we are getting into deep resonance. So one of the things we're going to be looking at is how to obtain this 100% strength, 100% efficiency, and 100% purity resonating crystal. So I have actually went ahead and made this, and I've attempted to record this episode several times. I mentioned this in a community post, and I think the biggest thing is I had to relearn deep resonance because there has been a lot of changes since its release, and I remember trying to do this back in 1.16, I believe. It was one of the other Direwolf 20 packs, and the mod was broken. We were duplicating fluids left and right. We were, breaking things left and right, and so I just gave up. So I know that we can now get a 100 crystal, right? All three categories 100. And so we are going to do this. This is going to be a power system that I want to use instead of, or well, not really instead of the solar panels, just on top of the solar panels. So one of the things we're going to need to get started is a half a tank of lava. You want to shoot for half a tank. You could use comparators. We're going to use laser IO for this, but half a tank, because if you do not do this, there's a fourth attribute called quality. Goodness gracious, had to think about that for a second. That is also on here. It's not as important as strength, efficiency, and purity, but it does affect all three of those, because if your quality is lower than 100, your strength, efficiency, and purity are going to actually be affected and will not be able to get to 100. Okay, so we're going to be shooting for about half a tank. We're just going to go exact because we can, but you could use a comparator. You could use a few other methods. And so I have in here a counting filter inside of this fluid card, and this is set to 5 buckets. Okay, and all you have to do is just take a lava bucket, go into a card, get a filter, counting filter in this case, and you can then, make sure that lava flows in here at only 5,000 millibuckets. Control clicking actually gives you the ability to add 100 or remove 100. Shift clicking gives you the ability to add 10 or remove 10. And of course, just clicking does one per. So just keep that in mind. I just shot for 1,000 because these are 10,000 millibuckets. And so we're now just going to extract. So this is just a default card. It's got overclockers, kind of speeds it up a little bit. But we have 5,000 in this tank, so we are good. Okay. So the next thing we're going to need is a smelter. So the smelter is actually your kind of starting place, because you need to be able to smelt 30 of the resonating ore. Could be the ends version, could be the nether version, could be the overworld version. Doesn't really matter. So we can toss this in here, and you will notice it's not going to really do anything yet because we have not set a tank up here. We do need a tank to be there. So we're also going to quickly get some energy pipes and just run these to here. Okay, and we'll just do that, and we'll add a pipe upgrade, and that is fantastic. So we know this is powered. Now the only thing we have to do is just set a tank on here, and it will fire. Okay, so you'll realize that a lot of these machines depend on something above it or below it, which usually is a tank in this case. So the next thing we can do is get a purifier, and I probably need to just get some like cobblestone or something. So we're going to set this 1 block away because the tanks actually will connect. They are basically multi-block tanks. So we're going to set the purifier that we have right here down on this block. Also, quickly, just wanted to mention that the resonating plates that you see here are just resonating ore smelted. You get 8 of them. You can throw these into a sag mill to get a better chance, which is pretty decent. So just keep that in mind. Okay, one of the things that I have found out in all of the shenanigans is we can actually bind these tanks to entangle blocks, and this will actually function. Okay, so we're going to need a tank at the bottom, and I think this should start functioning here. So you see that I just got a spent filter material. To prevent those from coming out of there, just put a drawer, barrel, whatever, void trash can. I'd recommend keeping these until you can actually get a ton of dense obsidian or dense glass to then make a casing for your crystal, because this does emit radiation. The purity of the crystal actually affects the radiation. So if your purity is crap, your radiation is going to go off the charts quite quickly compared to what it would when it's 100. Okay? So the next thing is we're going to actually grab another purifier. Originally, back in the older versions, you could actually set 2 tanks up here and the purifier here, and then have a valve, which is this thing right here, which can actually specify the attributes of the fluid, or the liquid crystal. What is this called? Liquid resonating crystal, I think is what it's called. And you can say, hey, if it's got 85% purity, which is what we're going to do with what we're setting up, then move it to another tank. You can't do that any longer. You need the purifier to have a tank above it, below it, and you could put a valve below this, but we're going to kind of just go a little bit cheesier with this, and we're just going to immediately move whatever fluid goes into this tank to an entangled block to here, and then we're going to put another tank down, and then we're going to put another tank down, and we're going to grab a purifier, place that there, and we're going to grab an entangled block. You guys kind of see where I'm going with this? So this actually should be good enough. So I actually have an ender chest here, and none of these need power, by the way, the purifiers. They don't need power, so we're not worried about that. We're going to grab item pipes, and in here we have filter material. This is pretty cheap. I've got it auto crafting, so we have infinite of this, which is fantastic. Okay, so basically right now what we've got is a tank going up here, going down, going up, going down. Okay, and of course make sure you put your barrels and your chests and everything. I don't actually know what happened to my other barrel, so we'll just use a chest here. And this should function, right? This should be getting us to the ability of having 85% purity in our crystal. One of the things that I could do is actually do this last, and I kind of forgot about this, so we may kind of alter this here real quick. Instead of doing this tank here, we're going to change this up, but we will still use this process. Okay, don't get me wrong, this process will be used, but I want to change this a little bit because there's quite a few different ways you can do this, and this is one of them, but we're going to have to re-purify this after the fact, so we're going to kind of avoid doing that. So let's actually get all of the liquid out of here. So we'll do this the first time, and then we'll do it right. So we'll just show you guys that it goes to 85. Okay, and you can speed up these purifiers. That does work. But at the end, we should have 6,000 millibuckets, which is equivalent to 30 resonating ore. So let's actually speed these along. Okay. So we should see this funnel to 6,000. Okay, and you can of course see the purity is at 85%. And the thing that I'm talking about with lowering the purity is these lasers. Because lasers are the only way that you're going to be able to get strength and efficiency added to the fluid, which is very important because it determines the overall effectiveness of the crystal and also what it outputs in power. So we kind of need to figure that out. A lot of these add to it. Some of them do not. Some of them decrease. Some of them don't even really get you too far into this. The text is a little difficult to read, but the Nether Star, of course, gives you strength and efficiency 90%, and then up to 100. So you can use basically several Nether Stars to get up to this point. Let's see, what else do we have in here? You basically want to read these black numbers because these are going to be very, very good to read. Because if you don't, you could be like, oh, I could just use glowstone. Well, you really can't unless you're under 50. So there's not really a whole lot of options to get strength and efficiency up in a decent amount of time. And of course, we don't have real access to gas tiers. We could do some of the loot fabrication. So what we're going to try, since we have automated Nether Stars, we're going to just do that, okay? And we can actually get this going here, but we're going to change this a little bit. So I think we're still inside the chunk. Yes, we are. Perfect. So we're going to try and see if we can actually laser this early. And I don't know if we can do this with an entangled block, but we're going to try that. Oops. A little aggressive. Okay. And we're going to put the laser lens on the entangled block. This is a little finicky. If you're placing it this way, it's going to always place it that way. It's because your character's facing this direction. It's not actually taking into account the face of the block, just so you guys know. So you need to stand in front of this and then place it. I've noticed that as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to go home and grab some nether stars. Of course, I'm going to set up some automation so we always have nether stars in the system. Inventory checkers, redstone transmitters, stuff like that. Nothing too extreme. So I probably won't show that, but we're going to get this going. So, one more thing. Deep resonance. You find all of these resonating crystals in caves, and you could use them for power. There's not a whole lot of power to be given with this. And also the stats are pretty crap, so there's no real reason to use these for power. So what we're going to use them for is actually... Oh, well, I messed that up. Hold on. Let's go back over here. Is we're going to actually use these inside of the laser, right? So you can see this blue bar. I already have it filled, basically, at this point, so I can't actually add these. But they go into that slot, and they just add to this blue bar and allow for you to use this, okay? One of the other things we have to mention, this is not going to do it in one nether star or one whatever we're using, right? So we need to use several. I believe it's about 13 for 6,000 millibuckets, or 6 buckets. So we're going to try that. And we do need a lever. And we're going to activate this. So I hope this is working. So that is... Oh, hold on. We have to kind of put some deep resonance stuff in here before we start trying this. I don't think that wastes nether stars. I think it actually did. Whoops. That's okay. We have infinite nether stars. I'm not worried. Okay, so that should fill this tank, which is what this entangled block is tied to. So let's get to 6,000. We also want to make sure we have 6,000 in the tank before we do anything. Overall, right? So, did that... Wait, how? I'm so confused. How did that just transfer fluid? Oh, what? Okay, hold on. Just toss in a few more, because I'm very confused. I don't... Yeah, see? What is happening? What in the world? I've never seen that. It's like it just wirelessly transmitted to the purifiers. Didn't it? Didn't it just seem like that? I'm so confused. 7,800. I am beyond confused right now, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. That's a little bit more than what I need. Okay, let's just do this. Let's just kind of restart that. Hold on. So we have enough to do 30. I really don't know what just happened there. I don't think the entangled blocks were tied to those. I really don't. So we're just going to place a new tank down. We're just going to ignore that, like, that just never happened. Okay, so we're going to get to 6,000. I'm baffled. I don't think an entangled block was tied to those. I really don't. So we're going to try this. Okay, so it doesn't look like that works. Okay. Yeah, because we just wasted nether stars. But that's fine. That was just a test. So what we kind of want to do then is probably pick this up and push it back one block. I think we could probably do it right here. And then we're going to get another tank. We're just going to place that right here and do a fluid pipe to here. And we'll just do an advanced pipe upgrade. No problem there. We're, of course, going to put the lens back on the front of this. And we're going to get our nether stars, which, of course, we want to try 13. So let's just get rid of 2, throw those in there. And then we do need to power this. So that's why I also wanted to push it closer. So we'll do that. Turn this on. You'll see that the efficiency and strength increases. Okay? So we basically want to see this get to the 100, right? 100 efficiency, 100 strength. We don't care about purity right now. We will care about that at the end. All right? So there we go. So how are we losing it? What? I'm so what is happening? I've never seen it lose it, unless purity matters. Purity might matter here. Which, if it does, this is the first time I've seen it. So that's kind of interesting. Hold on. Okay, so let's take this out. And let's just set this up like I was going to. Okay? Let's just go from ground zero. So let's get these reset. Okay? Start from the ground. So we're going to go back, put these all back down. We're going to grab the tanks that we need. I think I have a fluid trash can somewhere. Because I want to, well, the problem is I can't just take this fluid at like 6,000 millibuckets with laser IO, because this does not bucket, right? This doesn't have the ability to bucket, and I don't think we can just do that, right? Well, actually, we may have a solution. Let me try one thing real quick. A mechanism tank. We have not tried this. So at mech tank, and then we'll go back. So I've not tried this. Tank. Okay, so that just becomes that. And then if I do this and this. Okay, so we've got over a bucket. Can I do this? I can. So that's how we kind of beat that system, which I was not expecting that to function properly, but it does. Okay. So we can now... Yes, that is awesome. I'm excited because I did not know of a way to do this beforehand. I didn't really experiment too much with laser IO and mechanism together, but fantastic. Okay, so I quickly want to grab, what do you call it? Laser node. So I want to grab, let's grab 2 of these. And we're going to grab a counting filter. And just make sure we have that. And then also a couple fluid cards. Okay. And then we're going to pop back over here. And what we should be able to do is, with the 85% purity, we should be able to laser this by throwing it into another tank. Do we have... I thought I have a fluid trash can. Because I'm going to void this fluid. I know we're kind of wasting it, but I can just get more. Honestly, I'm not too afraid to just get more. So this fluid pipe, this. So we can actually just use this tank. Okay? So, laser node. We're going to do fluid. Looks like that has something in it. So, extract. We'll just do 2. Doesn't really matter. I guess it really doesn't matter that we put those in there unless we toggle that down. And then we're going to do insert. Let's actually do extract later, because I don't want to extract into this right now. So counting filter, oh, there's already one on here. Okay, so we're going to say 1,000. And that is going to need to be increased to 6,000. So we're just going to control click to 6,000 buckets, or 6,000 millibuckets, I should say. 6 full buckets. Okay, and then we're going to extract. Doodle-doo, extract. And this should be only 6,000. Perfect. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. That's the good thing. We are getting somewhere. We're going to avoid this real quick as well. Just kind of get this all cleared out. Okay. Perfect. So the next thing we're going to want to look at here is getting the laser stuff properly working. Okay. So I think what we can do is we can kind of have this in 2 stages, right? So we're going to use a valve here so we can show what this actually does. So the purity is going to be whatever. So it's going to say 5. Why not? Whatever it is. I don't know what the purity actually ends up being 9 times out of 10, but we want strength and efficiency figured out. And we're going to say 6,000 millibuckets. Okay? So we're going to apply that. Make sure we just close it out, reopen it, make sure it applied. And we're going to do another tank and another valve. Okay? Because we're going to want 100 across the board for 6,000. Okay? And then we're going to do another tank. And this tank can be bound to an entangle block, which we can just quickly do so we don't accidentally unset it. And that should be all we need to do for that. Okay? So we're going to grab a lens. Where's my other one? Still sitting over here with this laser. And we're going to do another one. Okay? We're going to grab this. And I probably want to just go grab a flux point at this point since it's so far away. So let's see here. So 1, 2, so laser's right there. And then I have another laser in this bag of goodies. Okay. And so the reason we're going to do this is because we want to be able to make sure that this is... So this is going to get strength and efficiency going up to 100, and this is going to purify it. We could send it back through. We probably could just make another one where we get it back to 85%, but I'm not really too worried about it. I think the method that I'm thinking with the actual laser is, let's look at laser real quick. So we'll just do that. With the laser, we have the option of like ender pearls. We have the option of diamonds. We have the option of emeralds, dimensional shards, whole bunch of different goodies, right? I think, yeah, the emeralds one is here. Emeralds, I think, is the highest. Diamonds is second. And then ender pearls is third. And then I think shards are fourth. So the emeralds is probably what I'm going to shoot for. Because we could get emeralds by getting a Vindicator or Evoker spawn egg and just getting an emerald farm set up. We're not going to fully automate this either. Just because we only really will probably use this for a little while. This was more to kind of just explore. I want to use it for a power system just so we can see how it does. But the other problem is we really don't have a good storage system of power. Like Flux Networks has its own, but of course we'd have to get Flux Dust automated. And I really just do not feel like doing this because it's a little bit more complicated than I want as of right now. So, yeah. Anyway, let's make sure that this bottom one has enough crystals put in it. And let me go grab a flux point. All right, so I'm thinking about how to activate these lasers. I'm thinking this, which is kind of overly complicated in my opinion, but vanilla redstone. Comparator, 8 redstone pieces, because this will actually be 9. We could just toggle that. So that's 9. So now it's 1 because this is 8, and then the 9th block we have the redstone. So that should give us 1. And then we're going to input here. Okay. And then if it's higher, that's the only problem is if it's higher than well, actually, no, it should never be higher because we have this filter with 6,000. So it should never be higher. It should only ever be lower. Okay. And then that means that we should have our laser wrench. So connect. Oop, where'd it go? Oh, it went in here because I just opened that. My bad. So here to here, and then redstone output strong there. Okay, so we have our 13 pieces in there. See, what in the world just happened? Okay, so the laser node, I think, just failed us. I think is what just happened. Okay, and the reason I say that is because you can see that we have 7,800. I think whenever this did a block update, it like technically removes the fluid and then adds it back. So it's like doing that whole cycle where it just completely and utterly just messed itself up. So that's not going to work. That's good information to have. Bad thing to happen, but we should still have a decent time with this because of the valve, right? So that valve is what's saving us because now we have the 1,800 in here and we have the other one here. Okay, so we're going to want to try and do that same thing. We're probably going to want to shrink down here. Where is my shrinking device? This thing right here. Okay, so we're going to want to do comparator. We're probably going to want to subtract. And we're going to look at the redstone, which of course should give us 9. So we're going to want to go out this direction, however many blocks that I went. I just broke that a little bit, but that's fine. We will replace that. That is okay. And then we should be able to do a redstone block. Here, redstone, 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 redstone. Perfect. Okay, and then we want power of 1. And I think we're going to need to go back home to then get a laser node, just a couple of these, to power this stuff, I guess. Glass panes. Perfect. Slash back. So we're going to put this laser node here with a redstone signal of strong. And then another laser node here with the input redstone here to here. And that should activate the emeralds. And with that, the purifier should, or the purity should be going. Of course, you could do this a little bit more cheaper with the actual other stuff, but we're just going to farm emeralds here in a little while. Off camera, probably I'll get a spawn egg for those guys, and we can just, spawn to our heart's content kind of thing. So I'm not worried. Do I sound worried? No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So let's fix this. And I'm pretty sure there's quite a few things you could do to automate this. This is one of the only problems I see. But we could have a system like this where it kind of estimates about 6,000. Because since that didn't work properly, I wish it would work. But I guess it has a little too much metadata and all that stuff with it. So it kind of broke it a little bit. Okay, so let's speed this bad boy up. Okay. And then I'm pretty sure we could just grab a pipe upgrade to make sure this stays powered. Okay, did we use all of our emeralds? Okay, so that uses a lot of emeralds. So yeah, we would definitely have to automate this in the future to constantly do this. And we may come back to this after this episode, but it's probably going to be a little bit because I want to get into AA2 wireless everything in the next episode. So we'll see. So we're almost back up to that. Almost there. What just happened? Oh, I know what's happening. It's dropping it from here. That's what's happening. That's a problem. So this is one of the things where you'd only put 30,000 in the, or 30 pieces of resonating ore. You'd regulate it so you only have that much going through the system at once, and then once it's complete, you'd have the ability to toggle it. Because right now that's the issue. And I think basically the way you'd want to do that, in all honesty, is with this. Like, if there's a crystal here, then you would stop the whole process. But once the crystal is depleted, you would then have it to where this crystal is broken, thrown into a laser, and then move on, right? You would then just use the next system. Then you would take the crystal from here, put it back over there. There's a whole automated block for that as well, breaking and placing of the crystal, by the way. So it's not going to be something that's like overly complicated, but we're just not going to get into that this episode. Okay, so the next thing we want to look at is the crystallizer. So the crystallizer, I believe, does use power. So we're just going to give this a little quick set here. We're going to set that there, and this should start working, I believe. Let me see here. It's either on the top or on the bottom. Is it on the side, maybe? Hold on. From the tank below it and eventually produce a crystal. So yes, this is actually how it's working. So you can see the crystal is growing in there. And if we just quickly press a few buttons, this should actually grow the crystal much quicker. And that is absolutely fantastic. So let me be right back whenever we have our next 100, 100, 100 crystal. All right, so we have our next 100, 100, 100, 100 crystal because the power left. So we're just going to experiment with this crystal because we already have it here and we might as well just not waste the one we have. We're going to need a few things, which is the generator parts, the generator controller, and the energy collector. I believe all of these have like a limit. So for example, the generator controller can only have a certain amount of generator parts. So that is something to take into account. So we're going to set these all down. And we're going to set that just like that. And we're going to put this down. And then we could grab a lever, put that here, and toggle this on. So this is kind of broken. And you'll see that we are getting 19,000 RF per tick. And of course, this is full. I don't have enough storage. And the power cells that I have in here, they suck. They only do like 4,000 RF a tick. So yeah, I mean, that is your power source. And then, of course, once this hits 0%, there's no way to recharge it. You just need to send it back through, right? You need to send it into a laser and then kind of continue on. I believe you can actually use these to also liquefy. So, for example, if we just toss this in here. Oh, actually, you can't. Interesting. I probably need to actually get an empty one to do that. But, yeah, so that is deep resonance. This, of course, is not the most automated system of any capacity, but it is a kind of in-depth tutorial on this. I may have missed a few things. There is, of course, the dense glass. Actually, I guess we could look real quick at the radiation meter, which is right here. So if we actually look back at this, and up top left, there's no radiation detected. If we turn this on, and we let this go for a little while, we should start seeing that radiation meter, okay? So it will slowly increase over time, and this is why you'd actually want to get the dense obsidian and dense glass. The dense glass is more so you could see inside of here. You also, of course, could get a radiation suit, and after a while, it does do some pretty nasty things. So just make sure that you case this in obsidian so it doesn't radiate the whole chunk and everything. But yeah, for now, that is Deep resonance. I am glad that the mod is working. It still looks like it has some issues just because we had the whole thing where it just decided to start sending it off. And we learned some things along the way, such as the resonating fluid will actually disappear when it's at 0 purity, which I did not know. But hey, we live, we learn, and we move on, right? Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay awesome, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye-bye!